Hi everyone, welcome back to Track 2. For those of you that have just joined, my name is Adam, Regional Software Solutions Manager at Elsevier, and I'm your moderator for today. Reminder, you can submit questions to the speakers by using the live Q&A button located on the right-hand side of your screen, and time permitting, we will cover some Q&A at the end of each presentation. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to today's speaker, Andrew Gibson from the Australian National University. Andrew has been in the role of Research Systems Manager at ANU for the past 3 years and project managed the rollout of Pure to ANU earlier this year. Having worked at 4 different universities, he has a broad background in managing university corporate systems across areas such as technology, commercialization, facilities and estates, finance, and research management. Today, he will be sharing a case study about the implementation of Pure at ANU College of Asia and the Pacific. The floor is yours, Andrew.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. And thanks for the invite to present today. So I've been asked to present on our implementation experience as we've recently gone live with Pure earlier in April of this year. So we went live with a pilot program in one of our faculties, or as we call them here at the ANU colleges. So if there are any existing customers implementing another module or new customers in the middle of rolling out, or if you're thinking about Pure as a future system, I hope this presentation will be of some use for you. So today what I'm going to do is walk you through our experience of going live with Pure and lift the lid a little on our approach to implementation, the project management of the system rollout, and then I'll move on to the results, lessons learned, and our plans for 2022. So the first question of why did we choose Pure? So there are really a few ways that we can look at this. The first one of those was a strategic driver, and that was for us at the ANU to move on to a new system that supports the college's goal of increasing and diversifying our research income. And that's through industry and other non-competitive grants. So the ability for people to easily find ANU researchers based on their areas of expertise, collaborations, and research outputs is very important to us. And we want our researchers to be as discoverable as possible to support our strategy. And I guess a part of that is presenting the information to our target audience and knowing who's going to be looking at the researcher portal and why are they there. And when I say we went live with the portal only approach. We didn't go live with the publications or grants, just because this was the pilot work that we were doing. So for our target audience looking at the portal, we've defined that as being government. For instance, with the College of Asia and Pacific, they have a number of experts on certain regions of Australia. So quite often we get government departments looking to speak to our researchers on those particular areas and countries. Media, looking for interviews, fund providers and collaborating researchers and institutions that are both internal and external to the ANU. And our audience for the portal also includes prospective HDR students looking for a potential supervisor, because as a research university, about half of our students are postgrad. We're also after greater control for researchers on how they portray themselves to an internal and external audience. Our current system is more of an administrative system, whereas we wanted to move towards an academic-centric model. And with that, we wanted flexibility on this, because how an early career researcher portrays themselves may be quite different to, say, a head of school who has many years of research experience and publications behind them. So we found that Pure allows researchers to tailor their profile with a good amount of flexibility, and we'll be keen to see what's available on that in future versions. And when we talk about hitting the mark with our target audiences, what this alludes to is really around the ability to recreate profile data so it paints a picture that we currently aren't able to do. So Pure for us is richer in content than our existing system. It captures more data, and we've got intentions to use the Pure APIs or the data integrations to pull out data for different use cases. And an example of this is really to provide a list of, maybe on a school website targeted to HDR students, a list of the researchers and their available projects. And then with our existing system, researchers aren't easily discoverable. It's not as rich in content. And the system was built internally a few years ago and is now pretty much regarded as a legacy system. So a market scan was conducted and Pure was chosen above others. The fact that Pure shows the portal, the researcher portal, shows collaborations at both an individual and institutional level, for us was a point of difference with other competing systems. Okay, so I'll talk now a bit about our approach to implementation. So being a pilot program, this entailed a narrow scope of works. So getting the portal up and running was the key deliverable on this. And in doing so, it was decided that our existing research information management system would be retained as the source of truth for our publication and grant records. So before we did anything else, we had to address our data quality issues. So we hired a team of casuals to go through all the publication records for that particular college. And it took 2 months to correct over, I think, 15,000 records that we needed to touch before we were ready and happy to present that in the Pure portal. And one key decision on our approach to implementing was to appoint a senior academic as the project champion. And I think this has been one of the key success factors of the project. And in this case, it was the Associate Dean of Research. So the perceived benefits leading into this were twofold. One, it would provide us with a good sounding board for our intended approaches and configuration decisions with an academic point of view in mind, because these are the end users of the system. And secondly, that would allow the communication to academics about the project and what was happening to be targeted from within the college by a position of authority. And then the other approaches we took on this were around training and support. And it's important, but I guess as with any IT project, change management can be more work than the technical side of standing up the system. So to assist with this, we plan the training and support from a few different approaches. We made a point of appointing administrative staff in each of the schools in the college as the Pure admins, and they would be the first point of contact for academics and provide general feedback back to us in the Central Research Services Division for escalation of issues or enhancement ideas. And on top of that, we also created some SharePoint support sites and with the usual things on there, training videos, reference sheets, FAQs, support contact details. And our videos in particular were very targeted to a specific task on managing your profile. So we might have had a 1-minute video on how to update your profile image or how to add in your LinkedIn account. So overall, the way we were doing this was we wanted to remove the barriers to entry for academics to start using the system. So to do that, we pre-populated their profile details from the existing system, added in all their records via integration. So the first time they see the system, most of it's already there for them. And then really what an academic has to do is sort of just review their profile as opposed to building it from scratch. Now, I talked before about our integration. So where we keep our existing system as our source of truth for publication and grant records. So granted, this isn't the usual way that customers implement Pure. I think we're really quite a rare case on that. But we worked with Pure to come up with a solution for pushing our data across. And this bit of work was admittedly the largest part of the project and included resurrecting some of the Pure import jobs that most customers don't really use anymore. So the way this worked is our ANU system, we would identify the data sets to move across into Pure. Our central IT department created a staging database where they would import that information, transform it into an XML file, and then push the data out to the Elsevier secure FTP service. And we opted for a push of data out instead of a pull, just to meet the requirements of our information security architects. And then once that data is in the secure FTP location, it's a very simple exercise then for us to configure Pure to point to those SFTP sites and import the data across. So project management. So I guess it doesn't matter if you're implementing Pure or any other system. So I think, as I mentioned before, the biggest success factor was having an academic champion. So in our case, this person was able to provide feedback from a college and academic viewpoint of what would and wouldn't work. And really that avoided us making some mistakes or configuration changes that we'd have to fix later. So, and the communication to the academics from this academic champion was also in a language that they could relate to. So one of the communications of the champion to his fellow academics was when they were introducing the system and trying to sort of introduce people to how long it would take to review their profiles. He would say, well, it took me 20 minutes to review my profile. And for me, I found this setting worked really well. And I changed my fingerprint like this for the following reasons. So that would then lead on for other academics to say, okay, well, that doesn't seem so bad. And they would go in and have a look. So that would be the approach, as opposed to an administrative unit pushing out a system to them who doesn't really have much of a day-to-day interaction with them. Okay, daily Scrum meetings. So we would have a 15-minute meeting each day with the core project team just to go over what we did yesterday, were there any blockers that which meant we didn't achieve what we thought we would do, and what are we going to plan to do today. And that was a very quick meeting, and it allowed us to keep tabs on any current or emerging issues. So as the project manager, I would then be able to clear the path for them, so the rest of the project team then get on with the work. Change management approach. So the overall approach to this, I think, was, if I can summarize it really, the college was the face of the project for the academics for all comms and internal support. Us as the Central Research Services Division are the second level of support for those Pure administrators in each school. And this then presented the changes, something that's closer to their area and to help with adoption. And finally, the mindfulness towards scaling implementation. So because we only went live in one college, we have 7 colleges at the ANU. When we configured the system, we always asked the question, well, is this going to work for the rest of the ANU? You know, so, and if it doesn't, then we questioned it and went back to have a conversation. So, and also we documented the good and the bad in the process of going live. And what that allowed us to do was to build up a template for implementation so we could then scale across. Now, the implementation results. So when we talk about user engagement, I'm talking about how many academics logged into Pure to review their profile. And we had about half of them, which, to be honest, was more than we were expecting. So that was actually we're quite happy with that. Where we struggled with engagement was around VAHAs with our visiting and honorary appointments, because we found that they were just a bit harder to engage with. The feedback from academics was pretty much on all ends of the scale, but generally more towards the favourable, I'd say. A lot of people love it. Others had questions about the metrics on display of the portal, and whether they would ask the question, is a citation count relevant for our audience of people looking at this? So we've had to sort of think about this, and I think if you've got the HAS colleges and STEM colleges, I think citation counts probably mean more to one than the other. So this is an internal conversation that we need to have. And other feedback on this, well, our Vice Chancellor was looking for some experts on Timor-Leste, and 6 ANU researchers were known to his office. But when he was presented with the Pure portal, he typed in Timor-Leste and suddenly 49 people came up. So increasing the visibility of our researchers, he saw that and he was sold just on that one interaction with the system. Also, our college research officers, so when a new grant opportunity comes through the door, instead of them having to rely on the people they know from past interactions, they can now get a definitive list of experts and follow up on that. The shortcomings of our implementation, where we've done a portal-only approach, is as we integrate our publications record on a nightly basis, any new records do not trigger the notification to the academic. They've got a record to look at. And this is something that we didn't know until we were down the track, and unfortunate. And I guess that's because the publications module is effectively a read-only module for us, for the way that we implemented it. So, and we had to do that to preserve our other system as the source of truth. So the issues around academic expectations to manage record visibility and other details, that's something that we've had to manage with manual processes to compensate for this and safeguard against the portal, the Pure portal, being a reduction in service over the old system. But since going live, to be honest, we've had no issues with the system. So far, it's been a very low maintenance system. I think we had to call our IT department once to change the parameters of the data import. But apart from that, we're very happy with that. And the support structure that we've got in place, what we had in place for the implementation has continued through, and the College of Asia and Pacific have actually increased the resourcing on that because they want to get a lot of consistency with the profiles, and I'll talk about that a bit more now. So during the project, we've got that template of implementation, and when we roll out to colleges, we know what we want to speak to them about. We know that we need to clean up that publication record data set before it goes on the portal. Adopting an academic champion is very important for the communication and managing expectations, and that was a key success factor from our point of view. Actively encouraging the collection of identifiers such as your ORCIDs and Scopus IDs, and with your Scopus IDs in particular, to increase the level of automated your web harvesting. creating those internal areas of support. And once you've got that portal up and running, reviewing the list of profiles with missing information. So if you don't have a profile image or something like that, then it's going to be, it doesn't come up in the search results as easily. So that's the key things there. The lessons learned, so is really that complete profiles are needed to ensure that Pure Search Engine accurately identifies the expertise. So make sure that your profiles all have that bio, the links, the profile image, etc., and all your publication and grant records are recorded in there. There's little consensus on presenting metrics. We found there we had a very even spread on turning on and off citation counts, the research activity chart. There's various reasons for that, but so we need to have an ANU-wide discussion on that. Researchers want more control of their record is a lesson from this pilot. So implementing the portal-only module has effectively locked them out of managing their records within Pure. So I think that's something that we've taken on board, and it's feeding the future direction of us. Also displaying the ANU org chart is best at the school level, because if we were to show it at the department level, what happens is we've got 4 schools, but we've got 98 departments within the college. So if you show every single department, it's pretty much a bit of a mess to look at. So a concise approach would then scale out across the ANU a lot better. Also, promoting the Scopus ID collection, really getting the carrot in front of academics. So if you've got that, then we can automatically harvest those records for you, which in turn means less manual data entry. And then the system limits of our existing system as a source of truth. So our existing system only allows up to 20 authors per publication, and STEM disciplines, including medical research, physics or astronomy, can have at times over 1,000 co-authors. So we lose that data by keeping our old system as that source of truth. Okay, and next steps, getting ANU-wide buy-in was the biggest activity post-implementation. The Associate Dean of Research met with all the other colleges, the deans and academics, and a working party was established after presenting to the University Research Council. And what this resulted in was an endorsement for a wider rollout of Pure as a Portal Plus publications module solution. So, and then we're going to have university-wide discussions on the portal configuration options, what we want to show as public. And then finally, before we really get into that step, the purchase of Pure at ANU was made on the merits of the portal. So before continuing, we need to check that for the publications module, that this meets our business needs. And we've already done an internal assessment of that just to check ourselves before we start any formal project, because obviously we don't want to create a rod for our own back. But we did an internal assessment and it's meeting our needs. So we're quite happy with that. Yes. Okay, so I think that's my final slide now. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. That was a wonderful and very detailed presentation. I certainly learned a lot. One thing you mentioned and emphasized quite a number of times throughout the presentation was the academic champion. If I had one question to ask, would it be possible if you gave a little bit more detail on how this person engaged with the committee? Was it, through webinars, weekly meetings? What was the communication plan with this academic champion?
Yeah, sure. So Stacia Dean of Research would attend there'd be research committees within the college. There would be general communications and presentations. So, and just emails as well. So he would engage with the academics on all fronts of that, because I think the general rule with communication is if you tell people, you have to tell people quite a few times something before it starts to sink in. If you just do a one-touch approach, only a small percentage of people sort of act on that. So if you keep hammering the message, it starts to sink in and people come to terms with what the change is.
Great. Thanks. That's about all the time we have for this session. Thanks again, Andrew, for the wonderful presentation. With that, I'd like to wrap up this session. And for the guests on track 2, you can make your way to the expo gallery if you have not yet. We now have a 20-minute break in the agenda. And I look forward to seeing you in track 2 shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great, Andrew.
Okay. Yes, I